So we're still here in the Japanese gardens here. And if you're just watching this one, this is a little monument to the internment of the Japanese during World War II and the violation of the Constitution that happened during that time. But we're here to talk about other legal issues. And one legal issue that kind of goes in with the one we just talked about, one of the problems is that these stories we've heard about the federal income tax not being legal or not being functional, those are actually true. My research and the research of others that's been apparently stifled by the federal government has shown that not only were some of the states that never ratified the 19th, I think, amendment is, or 16th amendment about income tax, they actually didn't ratify them. And the person who was counting the states actually lied, according to this report, because they wanted so badly to then create out of that a federally centered bank. It says that they have the right to print money, but it doesn't say anything about, I don't think, about being a bank. And right now, the Fed is, which we think, because the name Fed has to do something with America, is actually a private corporation. And they're basically, that's in another talk, running this Ponzi scam on us. But the implications of the fact that the income tax laws are illegal are quite profound. Everyone knows that lives in America that this is a very wonderful country. It has the best amenities, and if you play, you have to pay the piper. Everybody can understand that. So nobody's suggesting that everyone stop paying their taxes. But we do want to start paying them in a legal way. So our suggestion, the 44 Brigade suggestion, is that we create a state bank, and that the people in Oregon, or whatever your state is, you pay your taxes, your federal income taxes, to that state bank. Then when the governor and some committees have reviewed a request for funding and audited that request, then the states will get together and appropriate the proper amount of funding to legitimate enterprises. And we all know that where the purse strings are is where the control is. So that's why they wanted to do this centralized bank. That's why they wanted to make this income, by making this income tax. That's why they in a seditious way, made this law that the state's National Guards could be called up by the federal government, because originally the state's National Guards were meant to protect us against too strong a federal government and to unify together to fight any kind of outside problems. But a major consideration for the militias and the National Guards were that the federal government not get too powerful. And they have taken away the National Guards. They're now being slowly but surely slaughtered off in these dumb little wars. And what is going to be the result of that? So what we would suggest is to pay our income tax, and then also, instead of banks who are private entities, they could still exist, but people who wanted to take their money out of those banks and put them into the state bank, then the state bank would actually purchase cash from the Treasury, just like the Feds does. And then the state bank would be making the profit off of the interest that a private corporation called the Fed is making off of every bank in America. Why should some private company be making this money off of interest when states should be making that money? Our country should be for our country, and the money it makes should be for our people in our country. not for some private group that nobody knows anything about. I mean, that's just pretty simple sense. So, the other thing that the 44 Brigade could look into is we've talked about it in another talk, the Ponzi scam nature of the economy, and how, because it is a Ponzi scam, the major earmark being when there's not a carrot on top of for the pyramid to go after, there aren't enough Peters to come in and pay the previous investor Pauls, and then the thing starts to collapse. Now, there comes in so many different varieties, but that's the key feature. Our economy in America has that key feature. Now, it may not be so bad to lend money at 1 or 2%, but when you're starting to get 20 and 30% on specialty items and things like that, that's just way craziness. That's just inflating the money and wreaking havoc on the economy. And because a Ponzi scam is illegal, everybody that's bought a house that's been mortgaged has then a legal right to sue them, to get a group action, civil suit, to claim that they are being scammed by a Ponzi scam economic system, and therefore they should get their interest either really diminished down to nothing, get their house reduced in price maybe, or get rebates and or at least not get kicked out, because the whole thing that got them in there in the first place is illegal, called a Ponzi scam. And we have other little talks about that, and we're going to be putting some more blogging and like that, and we really invite folks to interact and to put their opinions out, because the more questions that are asked, the better. And this Captains Over 10 thing seems so simple, but when you think of an army that can move hundreds of thousands of people just at the command of the general, going down to lieutenant generals and blah 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 blah, down to sergeants, platoon leaders, all just in a few hours, they can mobilize 100,000 people in an army. So we can also change our country that same way.